Okay, so Julia, you mentioned Chicago and Boston. Set the scene for us of what's going to be happening and what's happening in those cities.
Well, they're ramping up, and first, it seems that we're seeing a lot more, really, the theater than we are of the arrests so far. We haven't gotten a lot of details on exactly who's been arrested overnight, and usually they'll come out with a rap sheet of the worst, and then we try to find out, okay, how many people actually had a criminal background. Of course, you saw that, the superimposed picture of Trump doing Chipocalypse Now, trying to look tough in front of Chicago. What we understand is they are building an operation in Chicago where they're going to use a naval base just north of the city. They're bringing in 400 to 500 agents and officers, not just from ICE, but from Border Patrol, from law enforcement across the country. That could be DEA, ATF, and they're going to be concentrating their operations. What I understand, really what they would typically do over 3 months within a 3-week period. Similar in Boston, they're going to bring people in there, try to really make a splash. They're picking sanctuary cities on purpose. Tom Homan, who Von Hilliard talked to there, has always really had a thorn in his side. The thorn in his side is sanctuary cities, because he says that they stand in the way when they don't cooperate with ICE. But in reality, if you're going to look at cities where you would want to crack down on crime, or you would want to go after large immigrant populations, they're not just in blue cities. A lot of them are in red states, but these cities have been targeted on purpose, really to show the full force of what ICE can do, especially when they have the gloves, the handcuffs taken off of them with rulings like this, with new policies like not having to fill out a form before they go arrest somebody. So I think we're going to see a ramping up of arrest, and particularly of people who might fit a certain profile. And then those arrested don't always get deported. Sometimes they find out they have a perfectly legal right to be here and they get released later.
Joe?
Hey, Julie, I want to circle back on a couple different stories and get your insight and your expertise. Of course, a couple of days ago, we got the news that the administration blew up a boat of people, killed a boat of people claiming that they were gang members. We, of course, haven't seen really any evidence of that. But basically, they say, trust me. So the policy there was kill first and hope nobody asks any questions later. I'm just curious, their track record on properly identifying who is a gang member and who is not a gang member, now that they're just killing people and claiming they're gang members without any evidence at all. I'm curious, at the end of the day, after we had all of the court hearings, after we had people pushed onto a train and shipped off to El Salvador, and after we were told that they were all hardened gang members, I've seen press reports that up to 75–80% of those people were not gang members, had never even committed a crime in the United States, a violent or the type of crime that the White House claimed was responsible for them being shipped off to one of the most notorious prisons in this hemisphere. I'm curious, what was your reporting on how many of those that were rounded up, grabbed off the street, thrown into a plane, and flown to El Salvador while courts were telling the administration to stop? How many of those ended up actually being, quote, gang members based on your reporting?
Yeah, well, the problem is, Joe, not only do we not know exactly how many people went to CICAT, that prison you're talking about in El Salvador, because it was never broken down for us, but we also are never going to be able to know the criminal history of those people because they weren't brought back to the United States for due process. They were put onto this plane. We now know that the Venezuelans that were in CICAT have been sent back to Venezuela. The Salvadorans remain. They're in the custody of their own country now. But what this sets up is really a pattern where you don't have to establish criminality or due process for these people. And so we saw in some cases they accidentally put women on those planes that Bukele sent back saying, I don't accept women here. They put an openly gay hairdresser who was trying to escape persecution in Venezuela when he came to the United States. He was sent to CICAT and has alleged a lot of abuse there. We know about, of course, Abrego Garcia, who was sent there despite a 2019 court order saying that he could not be deported to El Salvador. We now understand he may face deportation to Eswatini. All of this comes back to not only could these people not be established as members of this class, they were identified as a foreign terrorist organization that were going to be deported, but the administration never did that. And that's why a circuit court judge said these people that said Nazis were treated better than these people, because at least under the Alien Enemies Act and the way it was used during World War II, if someone was going to be classified as a Nazi, they got the opportunity to defend themselves. In this case, they didn't have the opportunity to defend themselves, that they weren't gang members. And the big piece of this conversation that I feel like no one's having is, say they were the worst criminals.
Right.
Is this cruel and unusual punishment? Or are we now departing from the point where we don't care what happens to someone once we paint them with a certain brush?
NBC's Julia Ainsley, thank you for your coverage. The exclusive NBC News report she co-authored is available to read online right now. And still ahead on Morning Joe, we're going to dig into the new reporting surrounding the Jeffrey Epstein files. What information was released and what comes next? You're watching Morning Joe. We'll be right back.